He stopped eating the day he realized he was already dead. Not literally, of course. 17-year-old Luca Valenti still had a pulse, still had breath in his lungs, still had blood running through his veins, blood that carried the weight of a name that made grown men cross themselves and look away. But somewhere between the marble hallways of his father's mansion and the endless parade of meals prepared by hands that feared him, Luca had lost something essential. Something that made food taste like food. Something that made life feel like living. And in Bella Vita City, where power is the only currency that matters, and weakness is a death sentence written in blood, a boy who refuses to eat is more than a problem. He's a liability. The Valenti dining room stretches like a cathedral of excess. Vaulted ceilings painted with Renaissance angels who've seen too much sin to ever fly again. Chandeliers dripping crystal tears over a table that could seat 20, but tonight holds only 5. Don Marco Valenti sits at the head, a man carved from granite and violence, his silver hair slicked back like a weapon, his eyes the color of a winter sea that swallowed too many bodies to ever freeze over. To his right, his consigliere, Sal Benedetti, picks at his ossobuco with the delicate precision of a man who's disposed of evidence in his time. To his left, his underboss, Tony the Hammer Marconi, shovels pasta into his mouth like he's fueling for war. Across from them, Luca's older cousin, Dante, watches everything with the calculating gaze of a snake deciding when to strike. And at the far end, isolated like a prince in a tower, sits Luca. His plate is a work of art, handmade tagliatelle with white truffle-shaved paper-thin, butter sauce that cost more per ounce than most people make in a week, garnished with herbs flown in from Tuscany that morning. The chef, a Michelin-starred maestro poached from a restaurant in Milan, stands in the doorway to the kitchen, hands clasped, waiting for the verdict that will determine whether he keeps his fingers. Luca lifts his fork. The table falls silent. Even the angels in the ceiling seem to hold their breath. He brings the pasta to his lips. It tastes good. Chews once, twice, then sets down his fork. The sound of silver hitting porcelain echoes like a gunshot. Don Marco's jaw tightens, a muscle jumping beneath his weathered skin. He doesn't look at his son. He looks at the chef, and in that look is a promise of consequences. The chef's face drains of color. He backs into the kitchen, already calculating how fast he can get to the airport. Luca. The Don's voice is quiet, which makes it more dangerous. Loud anger is theater. Quiet anger is the truth. You will eat. I can't. Luca's voice is hollow, scraped clean of everything except exhaustion. It doesn't taste like anything. Then you will pretend it does. Why? Luca finally looks up, and there's something in his dark eyes that makes even Dante shift uncomfortably. So they can all pretend I'm not dying? The word hangs in the air like smoke from a gun barrel. You're not dying, Don Marco says, but there's a crack in his certainty, a hairline fracture in the foundation of his empire. You're being dramatic. Am I? Luca pushes back from the table, the chair scraping against marble. Then why have you had 6 doctors examine me in the last month? Why are there whispers in every room I walk into? Why does everyone look at me like I'm already a ghost? Because he is. That's the truth no one will say. Luca Valenti, heir to the most powerful crime family in Bella Vita City, is fading like a photograph left too long in the sun. He's lost 15 pounds in 3 months. His clothes hang off his frame like he's playing dress-up in his father's closet. His skin has taken on the translucent quality of expensive paper. Blue veins visible at his temples. shadows carved beneath his cheekbones like someone's already started sculpting his death mask. And the worst part? No one knows why. The doctors found nothing. No cancer, no disease, no parasites or poisons or genetic disorders. His blood work came back clean. His organs functioned. His brain scans showed no abnormalities. Physically, Luca Valenti should be fine. But he's not. "Sit down," Don Marco orders, and it's not a request. Luca sits. Because that's what he does. That's what he's always done. Obey, comply, play the role of the perfect heir while slowly disappearing from the inside out. The dinner continues in suffocating silence. Dante makes small talk about a shipment coming in from the docks. Sal mentions a judge who needs convincing. Tony grunts about territory disputes in the South End, and Luca stares at his plate, at the food that might as well be cardboard, and wonders if this is all there is. If this is all there will ever be. After dinner, Don Marco summons him to his study, a room that smells like leather and cigars and old blood that's been scrubbed from the floorboards but never quite forgotten. The Don pours himself a scotch, doesn't offer one to Luca. He stands at the window overlooking the city. His city. The lights of Bella Vita spreading out like a kingdom of broken promises. "Do you know what they're saying?" he asks without turning around. Luca doesn't answer. He knows. They're saying my son is weak, that the Valenti line is dying, that when I'm gone, there will be nothing left to fear. Now he turns, and his eyes are hard as bullets. "Do you understand what that means? It means they'll come for us. It means they'll come for you." Don Marco crosses to him, grips his shoulder hard enough to bruise. "You are my legacy, Luca, my blood, my future, and I will not watch you waste away because you've decided food doesn't taste right. It's not a decision. Then we'll find someone who can fix it." The Don releases him, returns to his desk, presses a button on his phone. "Sal, I want every chef in this, city vetted. I want cooks from the old country. I want grandmothers who still make sauce the way their grandmothers did. I want someone who can make my son eat. And I want them found by tomorrow." He hangs up, looks at Luca. "You will eat. You will get strong. And you will be ready to take your place in this family. That's not a request." Luca nods, because what else can he do? But as he leaves the study, as he walks through hallways lined with portraits of dead Valentis who all have his eyes, he knows the truth his father refuses to see. It's not about the food. It's never been about the food. It's about the fact that everything in his life has been chosen for him. His name, his future, his fate. He's never made a single decision that mattered. Never tasted freedom. Never felt anything real. And you can't feed a hunger that has nothing to do with your stomach. The next 3 weeks are a parade of culinary desperation. Chefs arrive at the mansion like supplicants at a shrine, each one convinced they'll be the one to solve the mystery of the boy who won't eat. A Japanese master of kaiseki cuisine prepares 17 courses of delicate perfection. A French chef creates a bouillabaisse that took 2 days to make. An Indian cook brings spices that fill the mansion with the smell of cardamom and fire. A Mexican abuela makes tamales wrapped in corn husks and prayers. Luca tries them all. Take 1 bite, sometimes 2, then pushes the plate away. The chefs leave with their heads down and their pockets full of money that feels like hush money, because in a way, it is. Don't tell anyone the Valenti heir is broken. Don't spread the word that the prince is dying. Take your payment and forget you were ever here. But word spreads anyway, because in Bella Vita City, secrets are currency, and everyone's looking to get rich. In a penthouse across town, In a building that overlooks the harbor where bodies sometimes wash up with concrete shoes, Vincent Rossetti, head of the Rossetti crime family and Don Marco's oldest enemy, listens to his lieutenant's report with the smile of a man who's just been handed a loaded gun. "The boy's not eating?" "Hasn't had a full meal in months, boss. They're bringing in chefs from all over. Nothing's working." Vincent lights a cigar, lets the smoke curl around his words. "A family is only as strong as its weakest link, and right now, the Valentis are hanging by a thread attached to a dying boy." He leans back in his chair, eyes gleaming. "Keep watching. When that thread breaks, we'll be ready to pull the whole thing down." But Luca doesn't know about Vincent Rossetti's plans. He doesn't know that his inability to eat has become a tactical weakness, a crack in the armor that's kept his family safe for 3 generations. All he knows is that he's tired. Tired of the doctors. Tired of the chefs. Tired of his father's disappointment and his cousin's calculating looks, and the weight of a legacy he never asked for. So, when his bodyguard, Rafe, suggests they get out of the mansion for a few hours, Luca agrees without thinking. Rafe is 32, built like a brick wall wrapped in expensive suits, with a scar running from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone, a souvenir from a knife fight in his 20s that he won by breaking the other guy's neck. He's been Luca's shadow since Luca was 12, assigned by Don Marco to keep his heir alive. Over the years, something strange has happened. They've become friends, or as close to friends as you can get when one of you is paid to take a bullet for the other. "Where do you want to go?" Rafe asks as they slip out a side entrance, avoiding the main gates where guards log every movement. "Anywhere," Luca says. "Anywhere that's not here." They drive through Bella Vita in Rafe's personal car, a nondescript sedan, not the armored SUVs the family usually uses. They pass through the glittering downtown where skyscrapers pierce the sky like glass knives, through the theater district where tourists take selfies in front of marquees, through the financial sector where money moves in invisible rivers that drown more people than they save. And then they cross into the old neighborhood. This is the Bella Vita that existed before the Valentis, and the Rossettis carved it up like a Christmas ham. Narrow streets lined with brick buildings that have seen a century of secrets. Corner stores with faded awnings. Laundromats where old women fold other people's sins. And tucked between a pawn shop and a closed barber shop, a diner with a flickering neon sign that reads, "Rossi's" in cursive that's seen better days. Rafe pulls over. "Are you hungry?" Luca almost laughs. "When am I ever?" "Humor me." They go inside, and it's like stepping into a time capsule. Red vinyl booths patched with duct tape, a counter with chrome stools, a jukebox in the corner playing Sinatra. The smell of coffee and bacon grease and something else, something warm and real that Luca hasn't smelled in so long he's forgotten what to call it. Home. That's what it smells like. Home. There are only 3 other customers, an old man reading a newspaper, a couple sharing a piece of pie, a teenager doing homework in a corner booth. No one looks up when they enter. No one recognizes the heir to the Valenti empire. Here, Luca is just another kid in an expensive jacket who wandered into the wrong neighborhood. And behind the counter, refilling the old man's coffee with the easy grace of someone who's done it 1,000 times, is Emilia Rossi. She's 19, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail that's coming loose, olive skin that glows under the diner's fluorescent lights, and eyes the color of honey catching sunlight. She's wearing a uniform that's seen too many shifts, a blue dress with a white apron, a name tag pinned slightly crooked. There's a smudge of flour on her cheek. She looks tired. She looks real. She looks up when they sit at the counter, and her smile is automatic, professional. The smile of someone who's learned to be pleasant to strangers because tips pay rent. "Hey, welcome to Rossi's. What can I get you?" Her voice is warm, slightly husky, like she's been talking all day, and her throat's getting tired. There's no recognition in her eyes, no fear, no calculation. She has no idea who Luca is. And for the first time in months, Luca feels like he can breathe. "Coffee," Rafe says. "Black." Emilia looks at Luca, and there's something in her gaze that makes him uncomfortable. Not because it's invasive, but because it's concerned. She's looking at him the way you look at a stray dog that's been kicked too many times. "You okay?" she asks. The question catches him off guard. When was the last time someone asked if he was okay and actually wanted to know the answer? "I'm fine," he lies. She doesn't believe him. He can tell. But she doesn't push, just nods and says, "You look like you could use something to eat. When's the last time you had a real meal?" Luca almost tells her the truth, that he can't remember, that food stopped tasting like anything, that he's been dying slowly in a mansion full of people who can't save him. But instead, he just shakes his head. "I'm not hungry." "Uh-huh." She leans against the counter, studies him with those honey-colored eyes. "Let me guess. You've tried everything. Fancy restaurants, expensive ingredients, chefs who charge more than most people make in a year. And none of it tastes right." He stares at her. "How did you—" "Because you've got that look, like you're searching for something you can't name." She straightens up, makes a decision. "Wait here." She disappears into the kitchen before he can protest. Rafe raises an eyebrow. "You want to tell me what just happened?" "I have no idea." 10 minutes later, Emilia returns with a plate. On it is something simple. Pasta with butter and garlic, fresh herbs, a sprinkle of parmesan, a piece of bread on the side. It's not fancy. It's not expensive. It's the kind of food grandmothers make when you're sick, when you need comfort more than nutrition. She sets it in front of Luca. "My nonna's recipe. She used to make it for me when I was little and the world felt too big. It won't fix everything, but it might help you remember what food is supposed to taste like." Luca looks at the plate. At this girl who doesn't know him, who has no reason to care, who just made him something with her own hands because she saw someone hurting and decided to do something about it. He picks up his fork. Rafe watches, tense, like he's watching a bomb that might or might not explode. Luca twirls the pasta, brings it to his mouth, tastes it, and the world stops. It's not that it's the best thing he's ever tasted. It's not that it's made with rare ingredients or prepared with Michelin star technique. It's that it tastes like something, like butter and garlic and salt and care, like someone gave a damn, like food is supposed to taste when it's made by hands that aren't afraid, when it's offered without expectation, when it's just real. He takes another bite, then another, and before he knows it, the plate is empty. Emilia is watching him with a small, satisfied smile. "Better?" Luca can't speak. His throat is tight. His eyes are burning. He just nods. Rafe is staring at him like he's just witnessed a miracle. Which, in a way, he has. "What's your name?" Luca finally manages. "Emilia. Emilia Rossi. My family owns this place. Well, owned. It's just me now." There's a flicker of sadness in her eyes, but she pushes it away. "What's yours?" He hesitates, because giving his name means shattering this moment, means bringing the weight of the Valenti Empire into this small, warm space where he's just a boy who finally ate something. "Luca," he says, and leaves off the rest. "Well, Luca, I'm glad you liked it." She starts to clear his plate, and her hand brushes his just for a second. The touch is electric. Come back anytime you need to remember what food tastes like. They pay. Rafe leaves a tip that's probably more than Amelia makes in a week. And leave. As they drive back toward the mansion, Luca stares out the window, his mind racing. "Don't tell my father," he says quietly. Rafe glances at him. "Tell him what? What you ate? He'll be thrilled." "Tell him where? Tell him about her." Luca turns to look at his bodyguard, and there's something fierce in his eyes, something protective. "Promise me, Rafe." Rafe is quiet for a long moment. Then, "I promise." But promises in the Valenti family are like glass, beautiful, fragile, and sharp when they break. Because when they get back to the mansion, Don Marco is waiting in the foyer with Sal and Tony, flanking him like gargoyles. His eyes lock onto Luca, and there's something in his expression that makes Luca's stomach drop. "Where were you?" "Out," Luca says carefully. "Just driving around." "Just driving around." Don Marco repeats the words like he's tasting them for poison. "And did you eat while you were just driving around?" Luca's blood runs cold. How does he know? The Don steps closer, and now Luca can see it. The barely contained fury, the fear disguised as anger. "You think I don't have eyes everywhere? You think I don't know every move you make?" He turns to Rafe. "Where did you take him?" Rafe's jaw tightens. "Just a diner. Nothing special." "Nothing special." Don Marco's voice drops to a whisper. "My son eats for the first time in months at some nobody's diner, and you call it nothing special?" He grabs Luca's face, forcing him to meet his eyes. "What did you eat? Who made it?" "It doesn't matter." "It matters more than anything." The Don releases him, turns to Sal. "Find out everything about that diner. Who owns it? Who works there? I want names, addresses, family trees, and I want it by morning." "Father, please." "You will eat, Luca, whatever it takes. Whoever it takes." Don Marco's eyes are wild now, desperate. "If someone in that diner can feed you, then they belong to us. Do you understand? They belong to us." And in that moment, Luca realizes what he's done. By eating Amelia's food, by showing his father that someone, somewhere, can make him taste life again, he's painted a target on her back. He's dragged her into a world she doesn't understand, a world that will chew her up and spit her out. He's destroyed her life, and she doesn't even know it yet. The next morning, Amelia Rossi wakes up in her tiny apartment above a dry cleaner, makes instant coffee because the good stuff is too expensive, and gets ready for another double shift. 6 hours at the diner, then 4 hours cleaning offices downtown. It's the same routine she's had for 2 years, ever since her grandmother died and left her with the diner and a mountain of debt. She's tired. She's always tired. But she's surviving, and in Bella Vita City, survival is its own kind of victory. She has no idea that 3 blocks away, 2 men in expensive suits are taking photographs of her building. She doesn't know that her landlord just received a phone call offering to pay off her back rent in exchange for information. She doesn't know that her life is about to change in ways she can't imagine. All she knows is that last night, a sad boy with dark eyes came into her diner, and she made him smile. It felt good. It felt like maybe she'd done something that mattered. She has no idea how much it mattered, or what it's about to cost her. Because at noon, as she's refilling salt shakers and humming along to the radio, the door to Rossi's diner opens, and standing in the doorway, backlit by the harsh Bella Vita sun, are 2 men who look like they've never set foot in a place like this. Men in suits that cost more than her car. Men with eyes that have seen things that would make her nightmares look like fairy tales. One of them, older, silver-haired, with the bearing of a king surveying conquered territory, steps inside. The diner goes quiet. Even the jukebox seems to hold its breath. He walks to the counter, sits on a stool. Look at Emilia with eyes that could cut diamonds. Emilia Rossi? Her mouth goes dry. Yes? My name is Marco Valenti. He says it like he's announcing the arrival of a storm. And I have a proposition for you. Emilia's hands start to shake, because she knows that name. Everyone in Bella Vita knows that name. Marco Valenti. Don Marco. The man who runs half the city from the shadows. The man whose word is law and whose enemies disappear. I don't understand. My son ate your food last night. It's the first time he's eaten in months. Don Marco leans forward, and his voice is soft, almost gentle, which somehow makes it more terrifying. I need you to cook for him. I need you to keep him alive. I'm just a waitress. You're more than that. You're the only person who's been able to feed him, which makes you invaluable. He slides an envelope across the counter. That's $50,000, a signing bonus. You'll move into my home. You'll cook for Luca. You'll make sure he eats. In return, I'll pay you more money than you've ever dreamed of. I'll clear your debts. I'll make sure you never have to work 2 jobs again. Emilia stares at the envelope like it's a snake. And if I say no? Don Marco's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Then I'll assume you don't care about my son's life. And I take that very personally. It's not a threat. It's a promise. Emilia's mind races. She thinks about her grandmother, who taught her that you help people when they're hurting. She thinks about her debts, the bills piling up, the constant fear of losing the diner. She thinks about Luca, that sad boy with dark eyes who looked like he was drowning. And she thinks about the fact that she doesn't really have a choice. When do I start? Don Marco's smile widens. Now. Within an hour, Emilia's life is packed into 2 suitcases. Her landlord is paid off. Her shifts at both jobs are mysteriously covered. And she's sitting in the back of a black SUV with tinted windows, watching her neighborhood disappear behind her as they drive toward the hills where the rich people live, where the Valenti mansion sits like a crown on the city's head. She's terrified. She's excited. She's numb. She's crossing a threshold she can never uncross. And somewhere in that mansion, Luca Valenti stands at his window, watching the gates open for the SUV, knowing that the girl who saved him is about to enter a prison disguised as a palace. He wants to warn her. He wants to tell her to run. But it's too late. She's already his. And in the Valenti family, what's yours is yours, until blood says otherwise. The SUV pulls through gates that close behind it with the finality of a coffin lid. Emilia steps out onto gravel that crunches like broken teeth. She looks up at the mansion, all marble and glass and angles that seem designed to make you feel small, and realizes she's made a terrible mistake. But the door is already opening, and standing in the doorway, looking as trapped as she feels, is Luca. Their eyes meet, and in that moment, they both understand the same truth. They're not savior and saved. They're 2 prisoners in the same cell, and the only question that matters is whether they'll survive each other, or destroy each other trying. So here's what I need you to ask yourself. When you're drowning in a life you never chose, and someone throws you a rope, do you grab it? Even if that rope is tied to an anchor? Even if saving yourself means pulling someone else under? Because Emilia just grabbed that rope. And Luca? He's about to find out if the girl who taught him how to taste life again can survive in a world that devours everything beautiful. Hit that subscribe button if you want to find out what happens when hunger meets desperation, when love walks into a war zone, and when the only thing more dangerous than the Mafia prince is the girl who made him want to live. The first thing Emilia learns about living in a palace is that palaces are just prisons with better furniture. Her room is bigger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking gardens that look like they've been manicured by surgeons. A bed so large she could get lost in it. A bathroom with marble so white it hurts to look at. There's a closet full of clothes in her size that she didn't ask for. Designer labels she's only seen in magazines that rich people leave behind in the diner. Everything is perfect. Everything is suffocating. And standing in the doorway, watching her take it all in with the careful distance of someone who's learned not to get too close, is Luca. "It's too much," she says quietly. "It's always too much." His voice is soft, almost apologetic. "You get used to it." "Do you?" She turns to face him, and there's a challenge in her honey-colored eyes. "Get used to it?" Luca doesn't answer. Because they both know the truth. You don't get used to a cage just because it's gilded. He steps into the room, and she notices how carefully he moves, like he's trying not to take up too much space in his own home. "I'm sorry," he says. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't mean to drag you into—" "Into what? Your world?" Emilia crosses her arms. "Your father made it pretty clear I didn't have a choice." "You always have a choice." "Do I?" She laughs, but there's no humor in it. "Because, from where I'm standing, the choice was to come here or watch my life fall apart. That's not really a choice, Luca. That's just picking which way you want to drown." The words hit him like a slap. Because she's right. And because he knows exactly what it feels like to drown in a life you never asked for. "I'll talk to him," Luca says. "I'll tell him to let you go. And then what? I go back to my apartment, back to my debts, back to working myself to death for tips that barely cover rent?" Emilia shakes her head. "No. I'm here now. Might as well see it through." She meets his eyes. "But I need you to be honest with me. What am I really doing here? Because this isn't just about cooking, is it?" Luca is quiet for a long moment. Then, "My father thinks you can save me. And in his world, anything that can save his son belongs to him. Which means you belong to him now. Which means—" He trails off, the weight of it too heavy to speak. "Which means I'm not a cook. I'm a prisoner." Emilia finishes the thought he couldn't. Yes. At least he's honest. That's something. "Okay." Emilia takes a breath, squares her shoulders. "Then let's make a deal. I'll cook for you. I'll play whatever role your father needs me to play. But in return, you tell me the truth. About this family. About what I'm really walking into. About why a boy who has everything can't taste anything." Luca studies her, this girl who walked into his world with nothing but 2 suitcases and somehow still has more courage than he's ever had. Deal. And just like that, an alliance is formed. Not built on trust. They don't know each other well enough for that, but on mutual survival. 2 people trapped in the same nightmare, trying to find a way to wake up. But what Emilia doesn't know yet is that nightmares in the Valenti mansion don't end when you open your eyes. They just get worse. The kitchen becomes Emilia's sanctuary and her stage. It's massive, all stainless steel and professional equipment, The kind of setup celebrity chefs would kill for. But it feels cold, sterile, like an operating room where food goes to die. The first morning, she stands in the center of it, overwhelmed, until Rafe appears in the doorway. Need help finding anything? She jumps. She hadn't heard him approach. That's his gift. She'll learn, moving like a shadow. Always there, but never intrusive. I need to know what Luca likes, she says. What he used to eat before. Before whatever happened, happened. Rafe leans against the doorframe, arms crossed. He used to eat everything. Kid had an appetite like you wouldn't believe. Then, about 4 months ago, he just stopped. Doctors couldn't find anything wrong. Therapists said it was psychological. Don Marco threw money at the problem until he ran out of people to pay. He looks at her with something that might be hope, or might be desperation. Then you showed up. I just made him pasta. You made him eat. That's a miracle in this house. Emilia starts pulling ingredients from the industrial refrigerator. Eggs, flour, butter, herbs. Simple things. Real things. I'm not a miracle worker, Rafe. I'm just a girl who knows how to cook. In this family, that might be the same thing. She cooks breakfast. Scrambled eggs with herbs, toast with butter and honey, fresh fruit. Nothing fancy. Nothing that screams desperation. When she brings it to the dining room, Luca is already sitting at that massive table looking small and alone. Don Marco is there too, watching like a hawk, studying prey. Emilia sets the plate in front of Luca. Their eyes meet. She gives him a small nod. You can do this. Luca picks up his fork. The room holds its breath. He takes a bite. And he eats. Not everything. But enough. Enough that Don Marco's shoulders relax. Enough that the tension in the room drops from suffocating to merely oppressive. Good, the Don says, and it's unclear if he's talking to Luca or Emilia or himself. Very good. This becomes the routine. Emilia cooks. Luca eats. Don Marco watches. And slowly, carefully, Luca starts to come back to life. But here's the thing about coming back to life in a house full of predators. It makes you visible. And visibility in the Valenti mansion is dangerous. Dante notices first. Luca's cousin, with his slicked back hair and shark eyes, starts showing up to meals he used to skip. He watches Emilia with the intensity of someone doing calculations, measuring her worth, deciding if she's an asset or a threat. So you're the miracle girl, he says one morning, his voice smooth as poison. The waitress who saved the prince. Emilia doesn't look up from the stove. I'm just a cook. No one is just anything in this family. Dante moves closer, invading her space. Everyone has an angle. Everyone wants something. So what do you want, Emilia Rossi? To do my job and stay out of trouble. He laughs. Then you're in the wrong house. It's not a threat. It's a warning. And Emilia is smart enough to know the difference. The days blur together. Emilia cooks 3 meals a day, each one carefully crafted to bring Luca back from whatever edge he's been standing on. And it's working. He's gaining weight. Color is returning to his face. The shadows under his eyes are fading. But something else is happening too. Something neither of them planned for. They're falling for each other. It starts small. Luca begins spending time in the kitchen while she cooks, sitting on the counter, asking questions about her life before the mansion. She tells him about her grandmother, about learning to cook in that tiny diner kitchen, about the regulars who became family. He listens like every word is precious, like he's starving for stories about a world where people are real. And she asks him questions too, careful ones at first, What was it like growing up here? When did food stop tasting right? What does he dream about? He answers slowly, peeling back layers like he's not sure what he'll find underneath. He tells her about the weight of expectations, about being groomed since birth to take over an empire he never wanted, about watching his father make decisions that haunt him, about the moment he realized that everything he ate was prepared by people who feared his family, and how that fear seemed to seep into the food itself, making it taste like ash. I think I stopped eating because I stopped wanting to be part of this, he admits one night, his voice barely above a whisper. If I disappeared, maybe the whole thing would just stop. Emilia stops chopping herbs. Look at him. Really look at him. That's not disappearing, Luca. That's dying. What's the difference? The difference is that dying is giving up, and you don't strike me as someone who gives up. She wipes her hands on her apron, moves closer. You strike me as someone who's been waiting for a reason to fight. Their faces are inches apart. She can see gold flecks in his dark eyes, can feel the heat radiating off his skin, can hear his breath catch. Maybe I was waiting for you, he says. And then he kisses her. It's soft at first, tentative, like he's afraid she'll pull away. But she doesn't. She leans in, her hands finding his hair, his arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her closer. The kiss deepens, becomes desperate, hungry, not for food, but for connection, for something real in a world built on lies. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Emilia knows they've crossed a line they can't uncross. This is a bad idea, she whispers. The worst, Luca agrees. Your father will kill me. Probably. We should stop. We should. But neither of them moves. Because sometimes the worst ideas are the only ones worth having. And in the shadows of the hallway, unseen, Dante watches and smiles. Because information is power. And he's just been handed a weapon. The next morning, everything changes. Don Marco summons Emilia to his study. It's the first time she's been alone with him since that day in the diner, and every instinct she has is screaming at her to run. But you don't run from Don Marco Valenti. You face him and hope you survive. He's standing at his window, hands clasped behind his back, looking out at his kingdom. My son is eating again. You've done well. Thank you. But I'm curious. He turns, and his eyes are cold. What exactly are you feeding him? Because it's not just food, is it? Emilia's blood runs cold. He knows. Somehow, he knows. I don't understand. Don't insult my intelligence. Don Marco crosses to her, and she has to force herself not to step back. I've watched my son transform in 3 weeks. He's stronger, yes, but he's also softer. He smiles now. He laughs. He looks at you like you're the only real thing in his world. He leans in close. So, I'll ask you again. What are you feeding him? The truth sits on her tongue like a grenade, but she swallows it. Hope. I'm feeding him hope. Don Marco studies her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he laughs. Hope, in this house. That's either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Maybe. He returns to his desk, pours himself a drink. Let me tell you something about hope, Emilia. It's a luxury we can't afford. Hope makes you weak, makes you vulnerable, makes you believe in things that don't exist, like happy endings, like escape, like love. He takes a sip. My son is stronger because of you. But if you make him weak, if you give him hope that gets him killed, I will hold you responsible. Do you understand? Yes. Good. Now get out. Emilia leaves on shaking legs. But as she walks through the hallways, she realizes something. Don Marco isn't angry that she's getting close to Luca. He's afraid. Afraid that love will make his son vulnerable. Afraid that hope will make him question the empire he's supposed to inherit. And fear, Emilia is learning, is the most dangerous thing in this house. That night, she and Luca meet in the kitchen after everyone's asleep. It's become their ritual, stolen moments in the dark, where they can pretend they're just two people instead of a mafia heir, and the girl who's supposed to save him. "My father talked to you," Luca says. It's not a question. "He warned me not to make you weak." "And what did you say?" "I said I'd try." Emilia moves into his arms, rests her head against his chest, listens to his heartbeat. "But I think it might be too late. I think you're already weak for me." She feels him smile against her hair. Completely ruined. Good. They stand like that for a while, just breathing together, pretending the world outside this kitchen doesn't exist. But it does, and it's closing in. Because across town, Vincent Rossetti is having a very interesting conversation with a very interesting source. Someone inside the Valenti mansion. Someone who's been feeding him information about the Don's dying son and the mysterious girl who brought him back to life. "So the boy's in love," Vincent muses, swirling whiskey in his glass. How inconvenient for Don Marco. "Very," his source confirms. "The girl's become his weakness. Take her, and you take everything." Vincent smiles. "Then I think it's time we introduced ourselves to Miss Rossi. Let her know she has options. Let her know that the Valentis aren't the only family in this city who could use someone with her talents. And if she refuses, then she sent me a message. A very clear message about what happens when you choose the wrong side." The trap is being set. The players are moving into position, and Emilia and Luca, lost in their stolen moments and whispered promises, have no idea that the war they've been trying to avoid is about to come crashing through their door. Because here's what you need to understand. Love in the Mafia isn't Romeo and Juliet. It's not tragic and beautiful. It's a weapon. It's leverage. It's the thing your enemies use to cut you open and watch you bleed. So when Emilia Rossi fell for Luca Valenti, she didn't just fall in love. She became a target. And the question isn't whether someone will come for her. The question is whether she'll survive when they do. Drop a comment below and tell me, if you were Emilia, would you run while you still can? Or would you stay and fight for a love that might destroy you? And don't forget to hit that like button, because this story is about to get bloody. And you're not going to want to miss what happens when the waitress realizes she's not just cooking for a mafia prince. She's become the main course in a war she never saw coming. The thing about war is that it doesn't announce itself with trumpets and declarations. It starts with a whisper, a shadow that moves wrong, a phone call that ends too quickly, a look between two men who think no one's watching. And in the Valenti mansion, war arrives on a Tuesday morning disguised as a flower delivery. Emilia is in the kitchen, preparing Luca's breakfast, French toast with cinnamon and honey, the way he's started to love it, when Rafe appears in the doorway. His face is carved from stone, but his eyes are screaming. "Don't go outside today," he says quietly. She sets down the whisk. "Why?" "Just don't." But it's too late. Through the kitchen window she can see them. Black SUVs parked outside the gates, men in dark suits watching. The mansion like wolves studying a henhouse. They're not trying to hide. That's what makes it terrifying. They want to be seen. "Who are they?" Emilia asks, though part of her already knows. "Rossetti family." Rafe moves to the window, his hand instinctively going to the gun under his jacket. They're sending a message. What message? That they know about you. That they know you matter. That you're not untouchable anymore. The words hit her like ice water. She's been so focused on surviving inside these walls that she forgot about the enemies outside them. Forgot that in Bella Vita City, being important to a Valenti makes you a target for everyone else. Luca appears in the doorway, his face pale. Emilia, you need to stay inside. Don't go near the windows. Don't what? Don't exist? She hears the edge in her own voice, the fear turning to anger. I'm already a prisoner here, Luca. Now I'm supposed to be a prisoner who hides? You're supposed to be alive. His voice cracks. That's all I care about. That you stay alive. And there it is. The truth is, they've been dancing around for weeks. This isn't just about food anymore. This isn't just about a boy learning to eat again. This is about two people who found something real in a world built on lies. And now that reality is about to cost them everything. Don Marco calls an emergency meeting in his study. The entire inner circle is there. Sal, Tony, Dante, Rafe, and for the first time, Luca and Emilia together. She feels like an imposter among these men who speak in codes and casual violence, but Luca's hand finds hers under the table, and she holds on like it's the only real thing in the room. The Rossettis are making a move, Don Marco says, his voice deadly calm. They've been watching us, gathering intelligence, and they've identified our weakness. His eyes land on Emilia, and she feels the weight of his judgment. You. Me. Her voice comes out smaller than she intended. My son was dying. You saved him. Which means you're valuable. Which means you're vulnerable. The Don leans forward. Vincent Rossetti doesn't want to kill you, Miss Rossi. He wants to recruit you, offer you money, protection, freedom. Everything I've supposedly denied you. And if you refuse, he'll take you anyway. Use you as leverage. Make us choose between our pride and our heir. So what do? Luca's voice is tight with barely controlled rage. We eliminate the threat before it eliminates us. Don Marco looks at his son. We go to war. The word hangs in the air like smoke. War. Not a skirmish. Not a negotiation. War. The kind that ends with bodies and blood, and a city that has to choose sides. There has to be another way, Emilia says, and every man in the room looks at her like she's just suggested they all hold hands and sing. What if I talk to them? What if I? You'll do nothing. Don Marco's voice is final. You'll stay in this house, under guard, until this is over. That's not a request. But Emilia didn't survive 2 years of working herself to exhaustion, didn't survive her grandmother's death and the weight of impossible debt, didn't survive being dragged into this world just to sit quietly while men decide her fate. No, she says. The room goes silent. You don't say no to Don Marco Valenti. You just don't. Excuse me? The Don's voice is dangerously soft. I said no. Emilia stands, and she's shaking, but her voice is steady. You brought me here. You made me part of this family. You told me I belong to you. Well, if I belong to you, then I get a say in what happens to me. And I say, there has to be a better way than war. For a moment, she thinks he's going to have her killed right there. But then, something unexpected happens. Don Marco laughs. It's not a kind laugh, but it's genuine. You've got a spine, girl. I'll give you that. He looks at Luca. Your taste in women is better than your taste in food used to be. So you'll consider another option? Luca asks, hope creeping into his voice. I'll consider not killing her for insubordination. Don Marco stands, signaling the meeting is over. But the answer is still no. We handle this my way. With strength, with violence. With a message so clear that no one will ever threaten this family again. As they file out, Dante lingers behind. He moves close to Amelia, his voice low enough that only she can hear. You think you're brave, standing up to him like that. But bravery in this family just gets you killed faster. He smiles, and it doesn't reach his eyes. Ask yourself, is Luca really worth dying for? The question haunts her for the rest of the day. Is he worth dying for? Is any of this worth dying for? She could run. Rafe would probably help her. She could disappear into the city, change her name, start over somewhere. The Valentis and Rossettis would never find her. But that night, when Luca comes to her room, breaking every rule his father set, and holds her like she's the only thing keeping him tethered to earth, she knows the answer. Yes, he's worth it. This broken boy who learned to taste life again because of her. This prince in a prison who looks at her like she's freedom itself. He's worth fighting for. Worth staying for, worth dying for, if it comes to that. I'm scared, she whispers into his chest. Me too. His arms tighten around her. But I'm more scared of losing you than I am of anything the Rossettis can do. Your father's going to start a war. I know. People are going to die. I know. And it's because of me? No. Luca pulls back. Forces her to look at him. It's because of them. Because they see love as weakness. Because they see you as a weapon instead of a person. Because this city is built on violence, and no one knows how to stop. He cups her face in his hands. But maybe we can change that. Maybe we can find another way. How? I don't know yet. But I know I'm not letting you become collateral. Damage in my father's war. It's a beautiful promise, but promises in the Valenti mansion are like glass. They shatter when you need them most. The attack comes 3 days later, and it doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. Amelia is in the kitchen, her sanctuary, her safe space, when the lights go out. Not just in the kitchen, in the entire mansion. Emergency generators should kick in immediately, but they don't. Someone's cut the power at the source. Rafe, she calls into the darkness, her voice shaking. No answer. She fumbles for her phone, uses the flashlight, and that's when she sees him. A man in black, face covered, gun drawn, standing in the doorway. Not Rossetti. Not anyone she recognizes. Just a shadow with a weapon. Amelia Rossi, he says, and his voice is muffled behind the mask. You're coming with us. Like hell I am. She grabs the nearest thing, a cast iron skillet, and swings. It connects with his arm, and he drops the gun with a curse. She runs, her heart hammering, her breath coming in gasps. The mansion is a maze in the dark, and she's only been here a few weeks, but fear has a way of sharpening your memory. She can hear footsteps behind her. Multiple sets. They're hunting her through her own home. She rounds a corner and slams into someone, screams. A hand covers her mouth. It's me! It's me! Luca's voice, urgent and terrified. Are you hurt? She shakes her head, can't speak, just clings to him. We have to get to my father's safe room. It's the only place that's secure. He takes her hand, pulls her through the darkness. Behind them, she can hear shouting, gunfire, the sounds of a mansion under siege. They're almost to the safe room when Dante steps out of the shadows and there's a gun in his hand pointed directly at them. I'm sorry, cousin, he says, and he almost sounds like he means it. But you were never going to be strong enough to lead this family, and she was always going to be your weakness. The betrayal hits Luca like a physical blow. You? You let them in? I let opportunity in. Dante's voice is calm, rational, like he's explaining a business decision. The Rossettis offered me a partnership, a chance to lead without waiting for you to fail. All I had to do was deliver the girl. You sold out your family for power? Emilia's voice is shaking with rage. I sold out a dying empire for the future. Dante gestures with the gun. Now come quietly, and maybe Luca gets to live. Fight, and I'll kill him right here. It's the oldest play in the book. The choice that's not a choice. Sacrifice yourself or watch someone you love die. But here's what Dante doesn't know about Emilia Rossi. She spent her whole life being underestimated, being invisible, being the girl who serves food and keeps her head down and survives by not making waves. And she's done being that girl. Okay, she says, stepping forward. I'll go with you. Just don't hurt him. Emilia, no. Luca starts, but she cuts him off with a look. Trust me, that look says. Please trust me. She walks toward Dante, hands raised, the picture of surrender. He smiles, thinking he's won. And that's when she moves. She's not a fighter. She's never thrown a punch in her life. But she's spent years working in kitchens, moving fast, reacting on instinct. She grabs his gun hand, twists it up and away like she's seen in movies, and prays it works. It does. The gun goes off, the bullet hitting the ceiling. Dante curses, tries to wrench free, but Luca is already moving. He tackles his cousin, and they go down in a tangle of limbs and rage and betrayal. The fight is brutal, desperate. These aren't trained fighters. They're two boys who grew up together, who played in these halls, who were supposed to be family, and now they're trying to kill each other. Emilia scrambles for the gun, her hands shaking so badly she can barely hold it. Stop! Both of you, stop! They don't stop. Can't stop. This is about more than her now. This is about everything. Legacy, loyalty, the future of a family built on blood. And then the lights come back on. Don Marco stands at the end of the hall, flanked by Rafe and a dozen armed men. His face is carved from stone, but his eyes are burning with a fury that makes Emilia's blood run cold. Dante, he says quietly. Stand up. Dante does, slowly, blood running from his nose, his eyes wild. Uncle, I can explain. You betrayed your family. There is no explanation. Don Marco nods to his men. Take him. They drag Dante away, and his screams echo through the mansion like a ghost that will never leave. Emilia doesn't want to know what will happen to him. I don't want to imagine the price of betrayal in a family like this. Don Marco turns to her and Luca. Are you hurt? No, Luca says, his arm around Emilia, holding her up because her legs have stopped working. Good. The Don looks at Emilia, and for the first time, there's something like respect in his eyes. You could have run. You could have let them take you. But you fought. You protected my son. He nods slowly. You're not just a cook anymore, Miss Rossi. You're family. And family protects family. It should feel like a victory, but all Emilia feels is exhausted, traumatized, changed in ways she can't name yet. The Rossetti threat is neutralized in the aftermath. With Dante's betrayal exposed and his information network severed, Vincent Rossetti loses his advantage. Don Marco doesn't go to war. He doesn't have to. He simply makes it known that anyone who threatens his family will face the same fate as Dante. And in Bella Vita City, that message is received loud and clear. 3 weeks later, Emilia stands in the kitchen, her kitchen now, truly hers, preparing dinner. Not because she has to, not because she's being paid, but because this is what she does. This is how she shows love. Luca sits on the counter, watching her work. and there's color in his face now. Life in his eyes. He's eating regularly, sleeping better, becoming the man he was always supposed to be. Not his father's puppet, but his own person. "What are you thinking about?" he asks. "I'm thinking about how I came here to cook for a boy who couldn't eat, and I ended up fighting off kidnappers with a frying pan." She laughs, and it feels good, feels real. My grandmother would be so confused. Would she be proud? Emilia considers this. I think she'd say I'm an idiot for staying. But yeah, I think she'd be proud. Luca hops down from the counter, moves behind her, wraps his arms around her waist. "I'm proud of you. You're the bravest person I've ever met." "I'm not brave. I'm just stubborn." Same thing in this family. They stand like that for a while, just breathing together, and Emilia realizes something. She's not a prisoner anymore. She's not a cook, or a weapon, or a pawn in someone else's game. She's just a girl who fell in love with a broken boy and decided that love was worth fighting for. Is it a happy ending? Not exactly. This is still the Mafia. There will be more threats, more violence, more impossible choices. But it's their ending, the one they chose, the one they fought for. And sometimes that's enough. Don Marco appears in the doorway, and both of them tense instinctively. But he's not here to threaten or command. He's here to offer something Emilia never expected. "The diner," he says without preamble. "Rossi's. I've had my people looking into it. The debt's been cleared. The property's been renovated. It's yours again if you want it." Emilia stares at him. "Why?" "Because you saved my son. Because you proved yourself. Because—" He pauses, and for a moment, the mask slips. "Because you reminded me that family isn't just about blood and power. It's about the people who show up when everything's falling apart. You showed up. This is me showing up for you." It's the closest thing to an apology she'll ever get from Don Marco Valenti, and somehow, it's enough. "Thank you," she says quietly. He nods, turns to leave, then stops. "One more thing. You're not leaving this family. You're part of us now, which means you have our protection, our resources, our loyalty, but it also means you have our enemies, our burdens, our sins." He looks at her with those winter sea eyes. "Can you live with that?" Emilia looks at Luca, at this boy who learned to taste life again because she refused to give up on him, at this man who fought for her when he could have let her go, at this future that's terrifying and uncertain and absolutely worth it. "Yes," she says, "I can live with that." Don Marco smiles. "Good, because we're having a family dinner tomorrow night, and you're cooking." It's not a request, but for the first time, Emilia doesn't mind, because she's not the waitress anymore. She's not the girl who got dragged into a world she didn't understand. She's Emilia Rossi, the woman who fed a mafia prince and ended up saving his life, the woman who fought back when they came for her, the woman who chose love over safety and somehow survived. And in Bella Vita City, survival is its own kind of victory. The story ends where it began, at a dinner table. But this time, it's different. This time, Luca is eating with genuine appetite. This time, Emilia sits beside him not as a servant, but as an equal. This time, the table is filled with warmth and laughter, and the aroma of food made with love instead of fear. And when Luca reaches for her hand under the table, when he squeezes it gently and she squeezes back, they both know the same truth. They're not safe. They're not free. But they're together. And sometimes, that's the only happy ending that matters. So, here's my question for you. And I really want you to think about this, If you had to choose between a safe life that meant nothing and a dangerous life that meant everything, which would you choose? Would you be brave enough to stay when every instinct tells you to run? Would you fight for love, even if it might destroy you? Drop your answer in the comments because I genuinely want to know. And if this story moved you, if it made you feel something real, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I've got more stories like this. Stories about people who refuse to be victims. Stories about love that survives in impossible places. Stories about ordinary people who do extraordinary things when pushed to the edge. This is just the beginning. And trust me, you're going to want to see what comes next. So subscribe now. Leave a comment telling me what you thought of Emilia and Luca's story. And I'll see you in the next one. Because in this world, the only thing more powerful than fear is the courage to love anyway.